So I said that this is going to be our last graph that we're going to be looking at, and it's a relatively simple kind of shape because you've been seeing it for the whole time. It's our circle, right? But I think one thing that I struggled with a lot when I was learning this topic was, why do we need such complex equations to represent things that we can just draw very simply? Like, if I was asked you to draw a circle, right? Literally, I could just take these plane, and I could draw a circle like that, right? And that, you're right, it's very simple. It's not a great circle, but it is a circle. And I could just draw that very simply, right? But the power of representing things with equations, right, is that I'm able to pinpoint exact points. When we're looking at these, right, and again, I don't want you to just know this because it's in your yearly exam and it's going to be a big chunk of it, but let's see how we can approach these kind of questions, okay? So when I try and represent these circles, I need to use a particular equation. Now, circles are a bit tricky because they're quite different to all the other graphs you've been looking at. When we look at circles, we can see that there's a lot of different values it can be, okay? The equation that we use to represent circles is this one here. x² plus y² equals to r², okay? So I'll always introduce the basic form of it for you. This is where the center is going to be at the origin, or 0, 0. And the radius as well, very clear, is just going to be r, okay? So if I come back to this one, right, I've already got my circle here. And again, a really helpful thing is to know the general shape of what these will look like. I know what a circle looks like, so I could just draw that, right? But again, we want to actually write down some points so it's very clear how big this circle is. One suggestion I would do to you is, yeah, why don't you actually draw the shape before you put in the points? It actually makes it easier to draw, right? In this case, all of these will have a center at the origin, so 0, 0. But the radii are all going to be different, right? For example, this one, if I rewrote that last thing, that would just be what? 3 squared, right? So its radius is just going to be 3. So I can mark that in there, mark that in there. Okay, so the radius of this circle, x² plus y² equals to 9, the radius of that is just going to be 3. So all I have to do is look at these numbers on the end here. If I take its square root, or I rewrite it in this way, whichever you find easier, that's how you can find the radius of the circle, right? So without even sketching them, Corey, what would be the radius of this one?
8.
Yeah, 8, cool. Rips, next one. 6. And last one, 10, right? So even before I've actually kind of thought about the equation, right? A very simple way is just think about, okay, I know if I see this kind of equation, x² plus y² equals to something, that's going to be the graph of a circle. How big is that circle going to be? Well, it's just going to be whatever this value is, and I take the square root. So obviously, the bigger number that value is going to be, the bigger your circle will be. And you can see that on this graph here. As I increase the values, my circle gets bigger. If I decrease them, they get smaller. Okay? So let's just draw these now really quickly. Yeah, so again, right, with these equations, I could plot points. When x equals to something, what would y equal to? When x equals to, or when y equals to something, what would y equal to be, right? But a much easier way to sketch them, at least for now, is just to know if you see this kind of equation, x² plus y² equals to something, then it's going to be a circle with the radius with this square root there, okay?
Wait,
So this one here,
is,
8.
the square root.
Yeah, that's right. So nothing too complicated here. Third one, I know the radius is going to be 6, so I can mark that in. And I'll rub this one out so I can draw the last one. Part 4, I already know that the radius is going to be 10, so I can put that in there. Yep. That's right, yeah. So for all of these ones, right, you notice that they all have a very similar format. X² plus y² equals to some number, and that number is going to be the radius squared. Okay, so that's what there is. And again, if you want to check, you can substitute in some points there. What we're going to look at next is, in the last 20 minutes, is what happens when I start moving that circle around. So I can actually move the circle around a bit. I want to see what happens when I do that, okay?